This year's Champion of Justice comes to us from Clark County, where she has spent more than 30 years relentlessly pursuing justice for her mother's 1989 murder in Vancouver, Washington.
Her unbelievable efforts are chronicled in the podcast, The Yellow Car, which we really recommend to you to learn more about this remarkable person and her family's journey. Her persistence reminds us that the fight for truth and justice is rarely quick, but it is always worth it. And it is exactly why we are gathered here tonight.
The Washington Innocence Project Board of Directors is proud to recognize Pune Gray as this year's recipient of the Jackie McMurtry Champion of Justice Award. Welcome, Pune.
Thank you so much for this award. It is truly an honor to be here. I couldn't have imagined 35 years ago that my brother and I would survive, much less that I would be standing here receiving an award. My parents came to the United States in the 1960s to attend college. After I was born, we returned to Iran. But when the revolution happened, it became too dangerous for us to stay. My cousin was shot while simply walking down the street. All my parents could think about was how to get us back to the US. We were on the last flight out of Iran before the Revolutionary Guards raided and shut down the airport. I still remember the fear in my parents' eyes as we passed through security, and their sigh of relief once we were in international airspace. We thought we were safe, leaving a system that wrongfully imprisoned people under the pretense of justice, only to encounter a system here in the United States that does the same, and that would eventually fail my family. We settled in Vancouver, Washington. My dad returned to teaching as a college professor, and my mom went back to school to complete her degree in early childhood education. I adjusted to life in America, complete with braces, thick glasses, and bangs that made me feel like the awkward new kid from a foreign country. I spent hours in the library searching for books on how to become a cheerleader. Because back then, it seemed like all the cool girls were on the squad. The books paid off, and I went from being the geeky outsider to one of the kids who fit in. I went on to college and was accepted into graduate school. Life seemed actually great. But on May 1, 1989, everything changed. That morning, my mom was shot and killed in the parking lot of her apartment. A witness recalled seeing a yellow car speeding away, and investigators recovered a palm print from my mother's car. I thought, naively, that finding the yellow car and matching the print would lead to the killer. I was wrong. My father was immediately arrested. The yellow car was ignored because my dad didn't own one. The handprint was ignored because it didn't match his. The 911 tapes disappeared because they would have confirmed his alibi. And every piece of evidence that pointed to the real killer was ignored. Within 2 weeks, my brother and I had lost both of our parents, and we became orphans without family or money. But what the police didn't know was that the daughter they had interrogated and threatened would one day fight back and prove them wrong. no physical evidence tying my dad to the crime. So the state created some. The state's ballistic expert told the jury that the homicide bullet matched my dad's gun with, quote, absolute certainty, unquote. And, quote, to the exclusion of all other guns, unquote. And that he was so sure he would risk his career on it. It took me decades to prove what I always thought, that the examiner had lied to the jury. My dad was found guilty and sentenced to 25 years in prison. For decades, the state tried to block me. Evidence was destroyed. Evidence went missing. And the truth was buried. But through perseverance and advances in DNA and 3D ballistic imaging, we were finally able to prove that the bullet did not match my father's gun, and that the DNA found on my mom pointed to the real killer. And on November 2024, a jury found the real killer liable for my mother's murder. This journey has shaped me into who I am today, an advocate for justice reform, accountability, and restorative practices. But the fight is not over. The fight is just beginning. Today, more than ever, unjust behavior can be seen all over the world and in our communities. We can no longer stand by and watch entire classes of people being dismissed, marginalized, and unjustly treated. We must change laws that protect bad actors within the system. Ensure the laws are not stacked in favor of the state, and give wrongfully incarcerated people a fair chance for justice. I want to thank all of you again, and especially the Washington Innocence Project and everyone who worked tirelessly on my mom and dad's case to make this moment possible. I promise I will continue the fight. My father didn't live to see this day, but I hope that both my parents are proud of our achievements and will continue to be the guiding force behind me as we take this work into the future and fight for change.